to keep the heat in, many families struggle during this season. The elderly are vulnerable and physically challenged to fight the cold during these days and nights. Young children must walk through snow and ice in order to get to school and return to a chilly and bitter cold home. Imam Hussein Development and Relief Foundation are determined to help. We will be providing households with coal to burn throughout the winter. $150 is all we need. $150 will be enough to provide heat and warmth for one household for the whole of winter. That's $150 for 4 months. You can donate via PayPal, bank transfer, or visit us at www.ihdrf.org to make a donation. Our imams tell us the best of you are those who help those who are desperate. Help us spread the warmth. Thank you.
We question our daily position, seeking answers and definitions. Get the queries off your chest with Ahkam SOS.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Ahkam SOS, a show that discusses Islamic duties and practices. Now, if you have a question in terms of Islamic law, please send in your questions via the WhatsApp, the email address. Give us a call live in the studio, 0203-515-0199. If you're watching on Facebook Live or you're watching on YouTube, put your question in the comment section, and inshallah the technical team will be able to forward your questions to myself, and me and the Sheikh will be able to discuss and answer all of your questions. I'm your host, Mohsin Shah, and joining me is Sheikh Ali Ma'ash. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Assalamu alaikum.
How are you doing this evening, Sheikhna? Fantastic. Sheikhna, let's kick off with Salah. Now, when I'm performing ruku, what does one do if they deliberately, if they're in the ruku and they move towards qiyam but haven't finished doing the dhikr of ruku, and they continue doing it as they're rising, or even vice versa? Maybe they start before they actually get into the position of ruku. In this situation, what does the musalli, what does he do?
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. For the musalli, they have to make sure that when they go to perform each stage of salah, from قراءة Surah Al-Hamd and Surah, from going to the ruku' or to the sujood, they have to make sure that they have reached the stage of that particular juzu or part of the salah, and they have gained stability. There's no movement within that part, or there is no actually proceedings of the dhikr, for example, when they go to the ruku' or sujood. They have to make sure that they are stable. Then they start reciting the dhikr or the surah or the hamd and so forth. In this case, because this individual recites or reads the dhikr before reaching ruku', or would basically rise from the ruku' before finishing the dhikr, of course the salah will be batil and void. They have to make sure that they are in a stable, fixed condition in ruku'. Then they say ruku', the dhikr of the ruku'. When they have finished, then they rise from the ruku' to continue the salah, and so forth for the rest of the parts of the salah. They have to be stable, not moving, and they have to make sure that when they rest on the, let's say on the muhr, on the turba for the sujood, or while being in the ruku', or standing up for the hamd and surah, make sure that they have start the dhikr when they are in that situation, and not while going towards the ruku' or sujood. So that's important.
I see. Excellent. Sheikhna, when I do tayammum instead of wudu, do I still need to remove my rings and make sure there's no obstacles to anything?
Exactly like the wudu, for the tayammum as well, the one must make sure that they remove their ring or any other obstacle on the hand, so they can perform the tayammum on both hands, back of the hands. That there's no basically obstacles such as the ring, for example, or plaster and so forth. They have to make sure, unless there's a wound in which it doesn't stop bleeding and so forth, ahkam of the jabira and so forth comes forward. But in overall, you have to make sure, like the wudu, there's no
Yes.
obstacle on your body parts in which you perform tayammum or in wudu.
Sheikh, playing with cards is this strictly forbidden as they're an instrument of gambling. But what about, on the PC, there are card games, on your mobile phone, other electronic devices. There's loads of games which don't even involve gambling or anything like that. Are those acceptable for Muslims to play?
Playing with all types of gambling games is absolutely forbidden. I think it's mentioned in the Holy Quran, al-maysir. Al-maysir, it's one of the forbidden acts mentioned in the Holy Quran. So one should not play with these games at all, even without betting. And there's no difference between playing them in terms of in cards, for example, or playing on the screen or online, for example. Gambling game is a gambling game, be it on or real, let's say, hard paper, or let's say printed materials, or it's on the screen. You are actually playing gambling game, and that is the forbidden act.
Sheikh, my house toilet unit is facing the Qibla. Is this allowed?
No, it is not mandatory, because if one finds out that his toilet, the house which he bought or rented is towards the Qibla, of course they have to make sure that when they sit, their abdomen, their body parts, the front body parts, the frontal parts, is not towards the Qibla. So they have to slide to the left or to the right,
a couple of degrees,
to avoid, relieving oneself
and
towards
performing a sin.
the Qibla, which is forbidden.
Sheikh, some questions coming in from our viewers from YouTube. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
As-salam.
Sheikh, is sushi allowed in Islam? I'm assuming they're saying the fish that is raw, halal fish that you're allowed to consume with scales. But if it's raw, not cooked, is that still okay to eat?
There's no harm. There should be no issue with it.
So sushi is allowed. Assalamu alaikum. How do we perform sajda saw?
Sajdas of sahu for any addition or subtraction, or
To the salah,
increase
yeah.
or decrease from the salah. Let's say you talk in the salah suddenly, you do tashahhud in the wrong place in the first rak'ah, for example. Whatever you add in salah, unintentionally, without purpose, without intention of adding, purposely, then the one, or taking away, for example, something from the salah. In this case, the one should perform sajda sahu, and that's just you sit down after salah and you go towards the sujood. You perform 2 sujood, and then you sit down and do tashahhud, and you end the salah by tashahhud. That's it.
Excellent. Sheikh, how can one define if he's considered an excessive doubter, or what we call kathir al-shak?
If one doubts in the salah 3 times, or he would or she would doubt in 3 successive salahs, let's say he would or she would do doubt or shak in performing, for example, the ruku' or sujood. Always think that they haven't performed the sujood, for example, or ruku', for example, or any parts of the salah. There's always doubts, or first and second, for example, which makes the salah batil. But because their hukum is different than the one who is in normal condition, those who make such doubts, and let's say, subuh, dhuhr, asr, they just keep doing the same doubt, they become kathir shak, and they should ignore their doubts and shak in this condition, because this is some kind of illness in which one becomes so obsessive with waswasa, and sometimes is applied in this situation, which is from shaitan. So the one should ask Allah Azza wa Jal to repel this human's enemy in some cases.
Inshallah. Sheikh, is a person whose family members are unbelievers has recently converted to Islam, what is the ruling of eating from food of his family, nothing that he is seriously harmed, if he is away from them? From the opinion of His Eminence the Grand Ayatollah Sheikh Bashir al-Najifi.
The Sheikh mentioned that this person is in a crossroad. In other words, he has 2 options. The first option is to persuade them, invite them towards the true, religion of Allah Azza wa Jalla, and this is Islam. Islam of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad Salamullah alayhim. That's the first option. So if they join Islam, of course, they're going to be purified, tahirin, like us, part of the Muslim Ummah and believing individuals. The second option is to walk away slowly from those individuals, parents, relatives, and avoid eating their food, because their food is haram if it's meat and chicken, or it's najis if there's cross-contamination of their wet hands with the food, cooked salads and so forth. So he can't consume them, be it haram in terms of consuming, be it najis in terms of eating such impure food. But anyhow, he must live with them with good wisdom and with the best manners. So inshallah that would in near future, to attract them towards Islam, inshallah.
Question from one of our viewers, Sheikhna. Are Muslims allowed to marry someone who has no religion?
Muslim is allowed to marry Ahlul Kitab only. So
that's a Muslim man, not our sister. A sister can only marry a Muslim, no?
Yes, the whole issue is about the man who can marry.
Okay.
The sisters only can get married to the Muslims. But with regards to the men, they can only get married to the Ahlul Kitab, which are the Jews, the Christians and the Russians.
Do you know why sisters are not allowed to marry outside the religion of Islam, and only the men are allowed Christians and Jewish wives also?
You see, the Quran says, الرجال قوامون على النساء. There's qayyumiyya, there's guardianship by the man, influence by the man, in which he can also have influence and effect on the aqidah and the belief of the woman, and then eventually the children. So that could be one of the reasons. Allahu Alam, could be other reasons, but this is one of the main reasons in which the man can easily, in somehow change the religion of the woman. And I've seen myself a family in which the woman was a Shia woman. She got married to a Sunni man. Eventually, because of the marriage of mut'ah, she changed her belief to Sunnism. And we couldn't really, persuade her to go back to her aqidah, but that was her issue, that this is wrong in the Shia belief. How could you perform such act? So she changed her from aqidah from Shia to Sunnism. And that's one of the reasons, of course. Could be other reasons with this regard.
I see. Excellent. Sheikh, is it permissible for the parents to search the mobile phones of their personal belongings of their children for the purpose of their protection, according to His Eminence, the Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Rouhani?
The Sayyid mentions that it is permissible if it was for the cause or for the reason of educating them, and also to be the steps towards refraining them from the haram. So nahi an munkar, because sometimes you see that teenager or the youth watching, let's say, indecent movies or looking at the indecent images. So the one should actually refrain them from such act. This is haram, and you have to make sure that you tell them this act is haram, it's forbidden, and why is it forbidden, and especially in this age in which the arousal of the lust would be at its peak, 16, 15, 19, it's going to be at its peak. So one should make sure that he would inform them with this regard, teach them, let others try to talk to them, so that they could actually refrain from such forbidden acts. And if they can actually arrange for this individual who is, let's say, in his 18, 19 years of age, to arrange for him for marriage, to somehow find him a girl, inshallah, in his age, and the marriage would be in somehow a solution for his indecent acts.
I see. Okay, Sheikh, questions coming in from YouTube related to, are Muslims allowed to marry someone who has no religion? What if we plan to change her religion later on? We're going in to marry someone outside the Ahlul Kitab with the intention of bringing them towards the Ahlul Bayt. Is that acceptable?
They have to first convert to, let's say, Islam, and then you can marry them. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with regards to Safiya bint Huyay, she was a Jewish. She became Muslim, and then the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam got married to her.
Okay.
So you have to make sure that the conversion happens, let's say from Hinduism to Islam, for example, or to other religions, the religions of Ahl Kitab, for example.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's a problem.
Sheikh, is music for exercise, example, Zumba or walking home, etc., are they haram?
As mentioned before, there's a difference in terms of the opinions by the ulama. Those who consider all types of music haram, like Ayatollah Shirazi and others, but those who consider the music which is haram is the one which is associated with the amusements and the indecent gatherings of, let's say, in nightclubs and other clubs in which they play, strong music. That type of music, it's haram. So it depends really who you follow with this regard.
Okay. Thank you, Sheikh. Now, also, a question from YouTube. Can a man wear earrings according to Ayatollah Sayyid Sadiq Shirazi as long as he isn't doing so to imitate women?
You see, the discussion is about is this act looks like acting like the females, for example.
I guess it depends on the earring as well, Sheikh. There are certain earrings which are masculine, like the studs or really small hoops or something, which are considered not very feminine at all. But then, yes, ones that are dangling down like chandeliers and so forth.
One should avoid them anyhow.
That's understandable.
One should avoid such acts.
Another question from one of our viewers. If someone leaves Shiaism and converts to Sunniism, will they be a murtad as they have left the haqq and joined falsehood?
Irtidad, it depends really, because that is to do with kufr. Going from Islam to kufr, to disbelief.
Yes.
That's the irtidad. I haven't seen such thing if somebody becomes Sunni from Shia. But anyhow, they need to be guided, they need to be ala kulli hal spoken with to bring them back to the path of Ahlul Bayt, because you can't leave the haqq and you go towards the non-haqq, because following a'da Ahlul Bayt like Muawiyah and Harun and Ma'mun and Mu'tasim, their path is batil. They killed Ahlul Bayt, they killed Allah's religion eventually, slowly by their deviations. So, no, the one should basically talk to them, try to attract them again back to the real Islam of Muhammad al Muhammad sallallahu alayhi.
Sheikh, in the opinion of Sayyid Sistani, what is the opinion about the beer which is sold on the market, normally with the label that reads alcohol free?
The Sayyid breaks down the issue into two subjects. Number one, we have a drink called fuqa', as you mentioned, beer, which is definitely forbidden, as the Sayyid mentions, and that is also impure and najis with this regard, as per obligatory precaution, being najis. That's a beer which is haram, of course, not allowed, intoxicating, and so forth. Then the Sayyid mentions that if the drink which is produced alcohol free from first place, that they just take the barleys, let's say, they pour it inside the water and so forth.
Yeah,
so it's just a barley water.
Malt, there's malt drink and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah. If it's that's the situation, then of course this is halal and there's no issue with it. But if it was beer, then they took out the intoxicating effects of the beer, and still najis and not permissible.
Oh, okay. Sheikhna, is the vapor or stream from an intrinsically najis things such as urine or the garment that has become najis, which may form into drops as on the wall or glass najis?
And overall, it is considered to be as tahir, because now we have steam, you have some kind of transformation to another substance, for example. So that would be, of course, the end result would be tahir. It's no longer the actual ainun najis, which was before. So it's been transformed. For example, if the dead dog is burnt and become ashes,
yes,
that is ashes rather than the dog itself.
Sheikh, there's some more questions coming in from our viewers. What are the Sheikh's view on nawasi, and is it permissible to kill them if it doesn't harm yourself?
Initially, nawasib are those who establish the war against Ahlul Bayt, like the ISIS and others who kill their Shia. We read a hadith with regard to nawasib that الناصب من نصب لشيعتنا في مضمون الحديث, that the nasibi is the one who fights our Shia, who kills our Shia. That is the nasib as well. So yes, the nasibi is najis, is been على كل حال not a Muslim. In terms of killing, you have to go ask permission from the marja, Ahkam SOS, to see in what situations. Yes, we had ISIS in Iraq. The fatwa was there to go and fight them. Yes, because they were invading
yes.
the holy lands in Karbala, Najaf, Baghdad as well. So we had to sacrifice and go forward and give shuhada with this regard. So it depends. This requires, when it comes to blood, the one should ask the marja or the regard, and they would be very precautious, the ulama, in two things. Number one, the blood, and the marital issues. So it's very important that the one should go back to the marja of this regard.
Inshallah. Another question from one of the viewers. Assalamu alaikum. Did Imam Hassan alayhi salam and Imam Hussein alayhi salam wear earrings when they were younger, when they were small infants?
I can't remember in that moment, but even though if somebody brings, let's say, hadith and so forth, the whole issue is about the adults, those who are, let's say, over 16, who would wear the earrings. Would that be appropriate, for example, for them as adults to wear earrings? So that's an issue to be considered.
Inshallah. Sheikh, there are public washing machines where everyone uses them to wash their clothes. Are these washing machines tahir? I.e., is it obligatory to render tahir clothes washed in those washing machines?
Yeah, nowadays we have, especially in the West, where these public washing machines are being used by Muslims and non-Muslims. Maybe even non-Muslims are the most who use it. In this case, because we haven't seen any najasa with our own eyes, we just see a plain, an empty washing machine. In this case, according to the basis of the ruling, which says كل شيء لك طاهر حتى تعلم أنه نجس أو قذر بعينه, that everything is pure, is tahir, until you're certain sure that it is najis, then it's tahir.
Yes.
As long as you haven't seen impurity and najasa inside that washing machine.
What about the dryer? I mean, after public, laundry services, they'll wash their clothes, then they'll put them in the dryer. Or what about the drying? Is that okay?
Same thing with the tumble dryers. Again, if you have seen the najasa, you have to avoid it. Otherwise, again, everything is tahir and pure, unless you are definitely sure that it is najis, then you have to avoid it. So both cases go back to this qaida, or the basis in which everything is tahir unless you're sure about it, that it's najis.
We've got some more questions coming in, Sheikh. What is the ruling about watching films with sexual content?
Definitely forbidden. The one should avoid such movies.
Okay, and another one here from WhatsApp. Is it permissible to use condoms during sexual intercourse?
Yes, because these are short-term contraceptions, they are allowed, but not the long-term ones. Disables the womb, for example, or disables the man's part, for example.
Yeah, understood.
That's not allowed.
Thank you, Sheikh. Sheikh, in laboratories, blood constituents are separated from each other. When are the constituents said to be tahir?
It becomes tahir when there is a istihala or transformation, as I said before, from one substance to another. Then it becomes tahir. So you have to make sure that it's been processed in somehow, that this is no longer, for example, a blood, or as you said just minutes ago, urine, for example. So transformation or istihala would render that substance as a result tahir and pure.
Another question from one of the viewers, Sheikh. I think it's WhatsApp. A Muslim enters a cafe and sits down. It sounds like a joke. A Muslim enters a cafe and sits down at a table to drink tea. Then a stranger comes at the same time at the same table to drink wine. Is it obligatory upon the Muslim to stop drinking tea and leave?
Yes, indeed, because you are not allowed to sit on a dinner table or a sofa in which the alcohol is being served and consumed. You have to change that table or sofa to another sofa or table around you. It's permissible. We have narrations with regard that you can't sit in one banquet or sofa or that table and there's alcohol being consumed, that is forbidden.
Another question: is it permissible to manufacture, sell, or buy musical instruments that are made for children's play, and is it permissible for adults to use them? So you get this like you have them toy pianos or guitars and so forth. They're made for children to play and they make noises and this and so forth. Is that halal to manufacture, to buy, to sell, and can adults also handle them?
With regards to manufacturing toys, there is an issue with it. That are you allowed to make dolls and so forth? That's the issue. Yes, for me to buy, for example, a doll, that could be fine for the kids. But the issue of making that is an ishkal in which ulama have discussed it. So to manufacture is an issue that one should be careful with it. And also the music, for those who consider music is haram, of course, again, another issue.
Another question, Sheikhna. Salam, is there a website that provides Shia prayer times? It depends what country you're in and what country Shia prayer times you're looking for. But here in the UK, Sheikhna, we use Hussein Rasulullah Rasulullah.com has one, najaf.org, and there's also hujjat.org as well. There's plenty of websites and institutions that have the Shia timings for the UK. Abroad, I'm not sure, you'll have to Google that. Sheikhna, is it permissible for women and men in weddings to beat the drums or bang on the household pots and pans?
You see, again, Ayatollah Shirazi mentions that if that beating, which is not from the music instrument, was similar to the music beatings, then it becomes haram. You have to be careful. Because that looks like a musical beating, then of course it becomes haram. So it depends really. If it's just a beating on let's say on a pan, it doesn't make that musical sound, for example. Depends really.
Sheikh, there's more questions, mashallah, coming over from our viewers. I think this WhatsApp. How is puberty confirmed? So let's put Islamic bulugh.
Yeah.
How is bulugh confirmed within men?
For the boys, 3 signs. Number 1, completion of their 15 years of age.
Okay.
Or if they see thick hair in that around their private parts.
Okay, so
that is
pubic hair growing.
Exactly. That's one. And the third sign is to see what's known as wet dream. When they start to see the janabah, in other words, become ihtilam, other words are mentioned. In this case, they have reached the age of becoming taklif, like adults, for example.
Yes.
They're still children, but they have reached the age of taklif.
Where ahkam becomes wajib.
Exactly.
And for females, I believe even if they're not having, if they haven't started their menstrual cycle, 9 years of age, that's it.
Yeah,
it
if
starts.
they complete 9 years of age, they become wajib.
And that's the Islamic calendar, not the Gregorian
lunar,
calendar.
yeah, exactly.
So make sure you know your Islamic birthday. More questions coming in, Sheikh now. What is the law about someone who is doing a job with a degree he has achieved through cheating? Ayatollah
Sistan is very strict with regards to following the rules of the country that you live in. You have to respect the laws of the land in which you have to follow. And he would mention also that the one who formally and legally gains that certificate or that degree, for example, his income would be halal as a result. So if it's with cheating, then what you have to consider then? One should ask himself.
More and more questions coming in. This is going crazy. Sheikhna, what is your ruling, I guess Marja's ruling, or your opinion on ghina or song?
Ghina, of course, is haram, forbidden, absolutely. And it is mentioned in the Holy Quran. Qawl al-zur. The Imam says this is ghina. Qawl al-zur. Yes, one of the tafsir of the Imams alayhim salam in the Holy Quran, that is of course ghina and songs. And وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنِ اللَّغْوِ مُعْرِضُونَ اللَّغْوِ الْغِنَاء again, other tafsir, اللَّغْو, vain talk. Because when you see the lyrics, we read them, the shi'r of these, of those singers, you would see it's a vain talk. Come and, I don't know, love me, and your eyes is not, let's go and do what? If she is your wife, you don't have to declare that in the world. If it's to do with encouraging girls and boys to be, that's of course adultery and zina and haram.
Obviously. Okay, Sheikh, now we've got more questions coming in. Right, what does Islam say about masturbation? If a man is doing this, what type of punishment will he deserve, and how can he do tawbah?
In overall, masturbation is haram. The one should
Under all circumstances.
repent to Allah Azza wa Jalla and do istighfar before reaching and thinking about the punishment. Let's take this opportunity, especially in the holy months of Rajab, Sha'ban and the holy month of Ramadan, to ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to give support for those individuals to stop and cut such indecent acts.
Indeed, and for those of viewers that need any help, please look up the Nofap campaign. There's plenty of videos and plenty of websites and stuff to help you regain your masculinity, I should say. What if I am unable to do mut'ah in pre-marriage? Am I allowed to masturbate? I don't think you're allowed to masturbate.
According to ulama, they would say if you could fast as a last resort, just fast. Fasting will cut down, the temptations and the feeling of arousal of lust and so forth.
And what if I masturbate for medical reasons? If so, what are the conditions or limits? I don't think there is any other medical reason for you to do so. But
these are in extreme conditions. You can't really just do that without asking the marja or ijaza for this purpose.
And a full doctor's report as well. Sheikh, what is the ruling of sexual intercourse with one's wife during her menstrual period?
Not permissible,
Not permissible at all.
And there is also kafara.
Oh, wow.
If it's the beginning of the menstruation, or the middle, or the last, there's a specific kafara with this regard. So be careful.
Sheikh, a woman who took divorce from her husband wedding ceremony was not held, and she took talaq khula. In this situation, should she perform iddah?
Can you say again, please?
A woman who took divorce from her husband, wedding ceremony was not held, and she took talaq khula. In this situation, should she perform iddah? I guess what they're saying is that there was no official wedding ceremony. She never left her house. The husband and wife didn't spend time together and so forth. And it was talaq khula. So does she need to perform iddah?
Because there are two types of talaq with this regard. The one in which raj'i, that she can come back to the husband whenever they agree upon, without any recitation of the aqd of nikah within the iddah time, and one which is in which it's talaq ba'in, they would separate khalas permanently. So it depends really, that if it's that type, then of course there's iddah. Otherwise, in both cases there's iddah to get married to the next husband or the second husband. If she wants to go and get married, she needs to do, of course, this iddah 3 months period and so forth. So yes, in both cases she needs to do iddah, but the whole issue is it the raj'i one, the returning one, in which the husband can easily just say, I'm going to come back to you, khalas, I'm sorry, and that's it, they become again as husband and wife? Or is it the one it requires to do aqd and so forth?
Sheikhna, it is said that industrial alcohol is derived from intoxicating alcohol, in that it is steamed and distilled, and in this way it turns into deadly poison not suitable for drinking. Is this considered najis?
Rather, it's tahir, because it is industrial alcohol and it's not intoxicating alcohol, which is found in soaps, in shampoos, in perfumes and so forth. That is, of course, all tahir, unless you discover that they've used, let's say, champagne, whiskey within these products. And I've found some of them, I've seen some, they add actually alcohol to it.
I see. Sheikhna, the ingredients of some of the detergents and soaps include fat derived from pigs or maita, i.e. animal not slaughtered according to the Sharia. But this is after transformation into something else. Would the transformation render the intrinsically najis thing tahir?
If there's a process of transformation or istihala has taken place, then of course it is rendered tahir and there's no ishkal with it. But without istihala, without transformation, you cannot basically use that item.
Sheikh, now let's go to our Shia Plus video and inshallah see how we can help our Shabab today.
I'm killing him. I'm killing him. I'm killing him. Soon, 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 soon. Come on. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. Oh no. It's 5 o'clock. My dad said I can only play till 4. He hasn't given me permission. Is it haram for me to play the game?
Sheikh, now young Yasser there, doing very well apparently on his games, but he's overplayed or his time limit for playing that his father allowed him to. Is he performing haram if it goes over the time limit that his dad prescribed for him?
The Holy Quran states, وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. One should be good with his parents and listen to their advice and instructions and not to disobey them, because that would cause eventually that they become displeased with him, and that's of course a sin. So our young brother should basically go back to his father and ask for forgiveness and pleases his father with this regard, inshallah.
Inshallah. Question from one of our viewers on YouTube. What is the fastest way to perform qada salah?
The fastest way is to pray basically with each salah. So if you pray Salat al-Dhuhr and Asr, for example, the wajib ones, the daily ones, add another Dhuhr after your Dhuhr prayer, or let's say after Asr, another Asr, and eventually you would feel less tired or exhausted by praying, let's say, Salah Qadha in bulks and in mass. So that's the best way basically. And you can just mention the wajib acts of the Salah. So in ruku' just say Subhana Rabbil Azim wa bihamdih, that's it. In the ruku' sujood, same thing, and so forth. So in the qunut, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa Muhammad, that's it. Just to make it faster and easier for the one to do the qada at least.
Inshallah. Ahsan. Inshallah, we're going to go to a short break. Join us after the break as we continue your discussions here on Ahkam SOS.
I have a question regarding keeping pictures of
Is it
scholars
permissible
at
to
home.
plant trees by or
Was
over
Islam
the graves?
established based on peace and
Is it
non-violence?
permissible to collect donations for charity projects from
Is it permitted to consume canned food imported from non-Muslim
Is there an
countries?
issue for men looking at non-Muslim women?
To have your questions answered live, call in on +44 2035 150199 or WhatsApp us on +44 7415 092155. Alternatively, you can also email us on ahkamsos@imamhussein.tv.
Yes, those are the ways that you can send in your questions, and we answer questions on various topics. We don't need to know your name or where you're asking from. Just give us your question in regards to any topic in Islamic law, and inshallah myself and the Sheikh we're able to discuss and answer them. If you have a particular question with the opinion of a certain marja, please put down the name of the marja. We have contacts with the official offices and also the official representatives of all our maraja, mashallah, in Qom, in Karbala, in Najaf, and we'll be able to get your answer inshallah. So send in your questions via the WhatsApp email address. Give us a call if you'd like, 0203 515 0199. If you're watching on Facebook Live or you're watching on YouTube, put your questions in the comment section. The technical team will send them forward to me on my nice little iPad here, and inshallah me and the Sheikh will be able to answer all of your questions. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Assalamu alaikum.
Sheikhna, what is the meaning of the following in Surah 33, Ayah 72? We offered the trust to the heavens and the earth and the mountains, but they refused to bear it and were apprehensive about it. But the human being accepted it. He was unfair and ignorant.
A man asks Imam Ali ibn Musa alayhi salam with this regard عن قول الله عز وجل, which you've just read in English. إنا عرضنا الأمانة على السماوات والأرض والجبال فأبين أن يحملنها فقال عليه السلام. The meaning of this verse, as you mentioned, the Imam says الأمانة الولاية. The walayat of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam is the amana Allah has given it to the humanity to accept it, to carry this amana. من ادعاها بغير حق فقد كفر. The one who would claim this amana, which was given to, which is the wilayah of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, and he takes the wilayah and he's, I'm the wali over the Muslims, without going back to Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, and he set himself as a khalifa of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, the Imam says بغير حق, without حق, فقد كفر, he becomes kafir. MashaAllah, we've seen in past history that how many came and claimed to be the Khalifa of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Or the other one in Marwani, Hukum, he said, I am Khalifatullah. I am Allah's Khalifa. So the Imam said, فَقَدْ كَفَرْ, because they have usurped the Khilafah from the righteous, from the rightly guided individuals that Allah Azza wa Jalla has chosen. As the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned, that I leave two necessary things, Kitabullah, I leave the Book of Allah, and my progeny, wa Ahl Bayti. But they have disbelieved in Ahl Bayt, and also disbelieved in Quran as well, by their acts and actions as a result.
I see. Sheikh, more questions coming from our viewers. Is the Quran created or uncreated? Good question. Very, very deep and philosophical. The Quran, is it created or uncreated?
In the Quran, we have this answer. Muhdathin means created. In the Quran, it says about the creation of the Holy Quran.
Yes.
That Allah has created these words. Qawlan muhdath, yeah, the word muhdath is in Quran as well. And of course, the tafsir of Ahl Bayt as well, the narrations mention that the Quran was created. Because if you want to say that these words are eternal, then we have two eternal individuals, Allah Azza wa Jal and these words. And they can't be anything eternal except Allah Azza wa Jal. Azali, Allah is azali, eternal, or He was before everything. That's of course bahath and subject of the
Quranic sciences. We did something similar, that the Quran was from a tablet of light, which was then transformed into words and sound, and then delivered to earth. So it's not what you think it is, as in like a book with words in the heavens. It's not like that at all. Sheikh, now what is the fate of animals in the afterlife?
We have something mentioned that initially the Quran says وَإِذَا الْوُحُوشُ حُشِرَتْ, that the animals would be resurrected to take their haqq from the others. Let's say an animal who have killed another animal without any reason, without consuming that animal. So in that world, in the Qiyamah, he would take his haqq, his revenge, and then they would of course go back to the turab as where they were from. But there's no, let's say, paradise as we have, because the Quran says وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسِ, the jinn and the ins in which will be rewarded إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ.
Sheikh, we're running out of time, so we need to go through some of these questions quite quickly. Is drawing humans and animals permissible?
With regards to drawing, we mentioned it is permissible, yes.
Quran is created by Allah. It is shirk to say it's not.
It's against the Holy Quran and against the narrations of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. As I've said, qawl muhdath, the word muhdath is in Quran, which speaks about the Holy Quran, that muhdath means being created.
Sheikhna, I humbly ask the Sheikh to talk about legitimate and illegitimate children, especially when a husband had a child before marriage. Sheikhna, with all due respect, I think this is a long conversation, and inshallah we'll be able to answer. Well, not to answer, but maybe have a whole episode dedicated to the topic, inshallah. And inshallah we can answer those queries. Finally, Sheikhna, my friend and I want to meet with the knowledgeable Sheikh and have a fruitful discussion with him. Is this possible to do so, Sheikh? We've got some fans who would love to meet you and have a discussion.
Ahlan wa sahlan, anytime you're welcome.
Inshallah.
To answer your questions face to face, inshallah.
Inshallah. What we'll do is we'll get our admin team to inshallah contact the brothers that would like to come and meet the Sheikh, inshallah. Probably maybe do Ramadan sometime, have iftar together, and the Sheikh, inshallah, and myself will be at your service, inshallah. Sheikh, now just one more final question, and that is, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. What is the most powerful dua I can read in order to have my hajat fulfilled?
We have plenty of ad'iyah, each has its own taste and its own effects. But in overall, dua tawassul we have, hadith al-kisa, these are great ad'iyah that you do tawassul to the great creation of Allah Azza wa Jal and their Muhammad Ali Muhammad Salamullah alayhi.
Thank you so much, Sheikhna. Thank you to all of you for joining us on this episode of Ahkam SOS. Inshallah, myself and the Sheikh will be back on Wednesday. Thank you for sending in your questions. If we didn't answer your question, we do apologize. And inshallah, we'll be able to answer them on next episode, which is on Wednesday, 6:30 here on Imam Hussein TV3. If you have a question you'd like to send in, please WhatsApp, email, give us a call, or when we're live on YouTube or on Facebook Live, put in your questions, and inshallah, myself and the Sheikh will be able to answer all of your questions. This has been Ahkam SOS. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
We question our daily position, seeking answers and definitions. Get the queries off your chest with Ahkam SOS.
Whilst this winter many of you will be enjoying the festive season, Afghanistan is going through a crisis. Every winter the weather will reach temperatures as low as minus 18 degrees Celsius. With little finances and homes not adequate enough to keep the heat in, many families struggle during this season. The elderly are vulnerable and physically challenged to fight the cold during these days and nights. Young children must walk through snow and ice in order to get to school and return to a chilly and bitter cold home. Imam Hussein Development and Relief Foundation are determined to help. We will be providing households with coal to burn throughout the winter. $150 is all we need. $150 will be enough to provide heat and warmth for one household for the whole of winter. That's $150 for 4 months. You can donate via PayPal, bank transfer, or visit us at www.ihdrf.org to make a donation. Our imams tell us the best of you are those who help those who are desperate. Help us spread the warmth. Thank you.
have a duty towards the preservation and the propagation of the message of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Indeed, one of the best ways to work towards the reappearance of Imam al-Mahdi ajjalallahu ta'ala farajul sharif